Hey guys, we are talking about habits tonight. We are talking about when it's tough to, uh, hold on. It's tough to keep a habit when you have to have a habit in order to feel safe and in control. And maybe you're not motivated by anything around habits. So we're going to talk about all of that tonight. And, yeah. I'm Amber McCrae. I'm a connection and nervous system coach. Welcome. Let's talk about habits. Welcome in, welcome in. Hello, Miss Tara. Zoe, hello. Welcome in. We are talking about habits tonight. I looked at the clock and I was like, oh, it's 4. Not enough time in the day. Hello, Mom. Welcome in. Habits. Yeah, I was talking today and I was like, shit. Holly, welcome in, everybody. I'm trying to finish up my little snack. All right. We are talking about habits. We're talking about you love them, you hate them. I have to have them. I don't need them. I don't want them. I can't stick with them. All about it. We'll get started in just a minute. Welcome in, everybody. If you're new here, happy Monday. We're here every Monday talking about different topics. A lot of times they're taboo topics that nobody wants to talk about because they're uncomfortable, but we're talking about them here. We're saying the things that people aren't saying. And we're not sugarcoating it. Welcome in, everybody. What was I going to do? I don't remember. Oh, yeah. I was going to turn on some piano music. Bonjour. It reminds me of The Beast. Good day, how are you? When Belle goes through the town and sings. And then Gaston. I don't know why that makes me think of that. Risk over fear. Oh yeah, that's right, Jared. I was like, what? Who's that? How are you, man? How are you? I'm doing good. Life is always crazy, it seems, but I'm doing good. How about you? Anything new? You writing a new book or anything like that? Holly. Working on teaching myself video editing so I can work for myself. Yes. Video editing is so tedious and time consuming. When I was doing the podcast, it's like okay, copy that. So are you redoing it now? Oh, I look forward to that. Awesome. Tonight we're talking about habits. We are talking about habits. music. Lots of growth. Let's fucking go. I feel like this last 2, 3, I don't know, a lot of years was about growth. I'm like, okay, now can we just sit in what we've learned for a hot minute before we repeat the like traumatic cycle of learning again? Can we just have a little peace and relaxation and just like, oh yeah, the Let Them theory. That's a really good book. Really good information. Let them. Yes. Dankeschön. What I can control. Not a fan. I like some of her stuff. Oh, Megan, is that you? Oh, hello, lovely. Long time no see. Thank you, thank you. All right, guys, we are talking about habits tonight. Let me pull up my notes, actually. First, before we kind of get started, ooh, this sounds like a whole topic. I'm writing this down under topics. The Let Them theory. That's like a good series, actually, to go through books and different modalities and how people feel about them. Topics. Let Them theory. Josh, welcome in. I appreciate you. Thank you. Right, I hear you. That's what I'm saying. Kendra, welcome in. Yeah, Jared, I think it would be a good conversation. Jordan! What? Everybody's here tonight. I know, Megan, where you been, girl? Welcome in, everybody. Oh, happy to have you guys here. I appreciate you. Okay. So, let's see. Does anybody have any questions about habits before we kind of get started? Do you have any specific questions about habits? Is it Kieran? Welcome in. Creations by Teresa. Welcome in. Yeah, that's going to be a good conversation. Okay, Josh, why do I drink so much? So about like, if we're talking about habits, getting to the core. So habits can mean a bunch of different things. And I kind of talked about this in my videos this week, is when we think about habits, some people habits hit differently. Some people absolutely love and desire habits and actually feel like they have to have them in order to feel productive or even safe. Some people, their habits, it could be a habit that they don't want to have, or it could be a habit that they want to create. And so habits can mean a lot of different things. This is why I throw the question at you guys, of what you want to talk about around habits tonight, specifically for you guys. Now, in the Sacred Middle, we will dive deeper into specific things about habits and personal for you and what we could do about them. So grab your seat if you want to join that. It is small women's group coaching session right after this, the Sacred Middle. So Josh, to answer your question would be, what the first thing that would come to my mind is, if you are doing something, have a habit that is something that doesn't move you, that moves you away from where you want to go and what you want to do in your life. The first thing that comes up to me is, what are you avoiding? What are you trying to not feel? That would be my first question to you. And this is what I do with people one-on-one. I work with you to uncover the root so that you're not continuing to mask and just substitute one coping mechanism for another. Why we have a habit is a deep drive into the individual. Yeah, and this is kind of what we're talking about, right? We're talking about some people have to feel like they have to have habits, almost like a ritual, a routine. And if something happens and that routine or habit gets delayed or they can't do it, it throws their whole nervous system off. And that I want to slow down and ask you guys to get curious. Is it because the habit is actually working for you and it's beneficial, or is it more about control? And there's no, I just want to preface. Why can't I say the word? Preface? Nope. Maybe I need more coffee. I just want to start this conversation it's my internet. I'm the problem. Hold on, Tara. Okay. I know, but it still sounds weird. Anyway, start this conversation by saying that we're not talking about right or wrong or what habit is perfect for you. We're not talking about if habits are specifically good or specifically bad. We're not judging them. We're not judging why we're doing them or why we're not doing them. We're slowing down and getting curious about what is happening to us underneath when we're talking about habits. Okay, so I just really, really want to say that first. And because in these conversations, they can easily go to shame. Intuitive Bestie, welcome in. It just says my. Not sure what else you were trying to say, sweetheart. But there can be a lot of shame around habits and routines and how we feel about them and what other people tell us about them too. A lot of shoulds, a lot of supposed to be's, a lot of perfectionism. Oh, my chronic illness and pain kind of mess up my habits. And these are real things that come into play, right? And so, this is exactly why I brought up shame and supposed to be's. When we talk about habits and routines, are we actually looking at what the fuck is good for us in our life, in our situation? Or are we taking habits and things that are supposed to be good for somebody else and trying to fit them into our life and our situations? And that's another thing I'm really passionate about. Habits is finding out what works for you and your life. And especially with chronic illness, that's going to look different from somebody who isn't experiencing the same thing that you are. And are you creating habits that actually work for you and can fit in your life? Or are we trying to fit ourselves into somebody else's life because it's supposed to work for them, it's supposed to work, or it's supposed to be the best thing? And so, that's a really big thing is, do our habits and our routines, are they working for us? Or are we trying to force ourselves into a box because somebody said it would work? Now, we do gotta try things, right? We do want to try things to see what is going to work for us and what might not work. But here's the thing, is just because something doesn't work for you in your life doesn't mean that you have failed. It doesn't mean that you're broken or that you're doing it wrong or that somehow that you're less than or that something's wrong with you or all of these other things that might be playing on in your head when you are trying to do a habit or incorporate something new in. Welcome in, everybody. And so that's the first thing to get curious, okay? Is this habit going to work for me in my life? And honestly, nobody else can tell you if that is true except for you. Okay, your life, your situation, there's so many different variables. Everybody out here, including myself, we're sharing what has worked for us, what we have seen work for other people. That doesn't mean that it's going to work for you. Okay, and this is the part about not abandoning yourself, about coming back to yourself, is finding what works for you, testing things out. Now, in saying that, in order to see if something's going to work for you, we do need to try it out, right? We do need to see if it is going to work for us. And for some people who have a hard time with creating a new habit that may work for them is because we give up too fast. We're like, you know what? We're gung-ho, we're gonna do this new thing, it's awesome, and then after the first week, that dopamine hit drops, and we're like, maybe this wasn't for me. Maybe this is boring, maybe I picked the wrong thing, maybe I need to find something else. Okay? And this is the part about getting curious, slowing down. We want to do something with that information instead of sitting in the uncomfortable before we make a choice and say, would it be beneficial for me to continue to try this habit even though I'm not getting that dopamine hit? Because for a lot of people, boring equals not successful, because we're addicted to chaos, we're addicted to the struggle. This is not everybody. We're going to talk about the flip side in just a minute. If you guys have questions, throw them in the chat. If any of this is resonating at all, throw a 1 in the chat so I know that we're on the same page and that this is resonating and you guys are getting it. Um, Lost my train of thought. Slow down, breathe. Are we sticking with the habit long enough, or are we quitting too quickly because we're not getting the dopamine hit that we are used to and our body is looking for? Okay? Because for a lot of people, if we're not getting that dopamine hit, then we feel like it's not right for us because we're looking for a feeling. We're looking for a feeling. And oftentimes, again, those of us who have been addicted to struggle, addicted to chaos, we are programmed that struggle equals success. Struggle equals production. Struggle equals earning. That in order to make money, in order to be successful, in order to be worthy, we have to struggle and produce and be in that chaos, right? So we're also combating that. I'm finding my footing. I was thrown off a bit at the beginning. Oh, okay. Bye, Kendra. Awesome, intuitive bestie. Okay, then also there are some that need to stick to a routine. You have a very, very, very strict routine. I'm going to throw a lot here, you guys. And if something resonates, you have questions, let's throw them in the chat. But we have such a limited time, I kind of just want to throw a bunch at you and then have some time for questions if you guys have them along the way. Some of you have a routine. You wake up, you do this, and this, and it does not derail. And if you do get derailed, your nervous system freaks the fuck out or shuts down. And what I want to get curious in that space is, again, we're not talking about is this good, is this bad, or are routines good or are routines bad. What we're looking at is how it affects you and what is kind of underneath, what's playing underneath everything. And if you are somebody that has a routine and life happens or something happens and it throws that routine off, and your nervous system either shuts down or freaks the fuck out, I would get curious. It could be related to more control because predictability equals safety for a lot of people, right? Our bodies equate to predictability is safety. And when we are craving safety, and we find it in a routine because it's that predictability, it can mimic safety, right? And so when that routine or that habit gets thrown off, it can feel unsafe. I can feel frustrated if I run into construction. Yeah, the same thing, because that it throws off that predictability of and it could just be time also for that. Depends if you're running late driving somewhere, but yeah, that predictability, because that predictability creates this sense of peace. Yeah, the routine to work. Can I get a 1 in the chat if this is resonating, making sense to you guys? And I want to throw this at you. Most of us we're not struggling with habits. Okay? Oh, copy that. Okay. We're not struggling with habits. We're struggling of what we trust in those habits. Okay? We're struggling with what you trust in a habit. Yeah, that's how I read it, Tara. I was like, you're right. God is derailing us all over the place. I feel that. I was like, no truer words have been spoken today. I've spent the last almost 7 years learning to live outside a 22-year habit. Yeah, and that is so much work and so much consistency and so much uncomfortability and unpredictability, right, Holly? And this is why a lot of people struggle with creating a new habit, is because the unpredictability of the outcome is too much for their nervous system, and they don't know what to do with that. And it goes back to default because that is predictable, even if it is not as healthy or the outcome is less desirable. And you can logically know that, and still it is on a subconscious autopilot default that your body chooses, and then your brain's like, yep, we gotta go. And it just, before you even feel like you have a choice, your body already chooses for you because it's trying to keep you safe. Like sometimes like an unhelpful friend who's really trying but like missing the mark, and you're like, I appreciate you, but maybe could you just not help me right now? Right? Right, I don't know life like this. That's huge. And that's scary. It can be really scary. And if you don't have any safety in your life anywhere, and you don't have a safe person in your life, it is risky. You do need to take risks, emotional, mental, physical, all these risks that you do really need to take in creating the life that you want, right? And so this is why a lot of people who want to create a new habit end up not creating the new habit over and over, no matter how many times that they try. Because it's really not about the habit, right? So they bounce back and forth looking for habits to work. And this is one of the reasons I say, also, are you sticking with the habit long enough and getting curious about it, right? So we're not here to judge which habit, all of that. It's learning how to not abandon ourselves in these things and everything. All the things that we talk about, right? Is learning how to not abandon ourselves, but to slow the fuck down so that we can begin to see these things and understand what is underneath that. Okay, let's peel this layer back, right? Okay, maybe it's not about the habit. What's happening underneath the habit? Okay, I think Josh or somebody mentioned in here about drinking. That's why I mentioned what's underneath that. Oftentimes when we are going to habits or coping mechanisms that are not benefiting us, it is because we are trying to avoid something, distract, trying to not feel a certain thing. Let's get curious about that. And control, right? And this is one of the reasons also that people who have to have a routine, it can also be that control, right? Is that I need to control something because I feel so out of control internally that I have to externally control the things. And again, there's no judgment in this. We're not saying this is bad, this is good, anything like that. We're not having that conversation today. Today, we're just noticing. We're getting curious and aware about what the fuck is happening for us around habits. Unprocessed pain, trauma, nervous system overload. And for a lot of people with habits that are not necessarily beneficial or bring them toward the life that they want, but they still go to them, is that it's so much. Like Holly said, their nervous system goes on overload and they're just trying to survive. My habits protect my identity. Even when that identity no longer fits who I am. It's frustrating. Right? And that's that default setting. Right? That we can be aware of it. This is why so many people on this healing journey, they can talk the talk, but are we doing it? Right? We can have the words, but are we recognizing and are we stopping? Are we practicing the pauses? Are we getting curious? Are we getting honest with ourselves about what's underneath all of these things that are happening? Right? And it's not about eradicating them either. It's just about recognizing them when they come up, right? Because a lot of them do serve a purpose, just not on the loop that they're on, right? So when it's been a protective mechanism, coping mechanism, whatever you want to call it, for your whole life, of course, it's going to be an automatic response that you, like I said, oftentimes you don't even know that it's happening until after it's already happened. And we've talked about this several times, but in the beginning, you will notice that you're doing something after you've already done it, right? So let's say like a week or a month and you're like, shit, I did that. And then you'll notice that for a while, and then it'll be like a week, and then it'll be like a few days, and then it'll be an hour. And this is over a long period of time, right? So the more that you are getting curious and practicing that pause, the earlier you can recognize what's happening under and before we make these choices for different habits. So if you have questions about not being able to stay consistent, you could throw them in the chat. If you have questions about the control around and the safety around having to have a system, or a certain habit, a repetitive habit, you could throw that in the chat. Happy to see you. Welcome in. And then we're also going to talk about what actually drives somebody. Because a lot of people, when we talk about habits, everybody has, people's nervous systems are different. And so again, this is why I talk about, we're dropping the shame, we're dropping the judgment, because some people are like, well, if you want this, and this enough, then you will just do this new habit. Or, some people are motivated by fear. Some people are motivated by guilt. Some people are motivated by outside things. And some people are not. Like, some people are motivated by the dopamine hits and things like that, right? And some people are not wired the same way. And they're like, your guilt doesn't affect me. The manipulation doesn't affect me. And I don't really care about all of this outside stuff, right? So what motivates them is from internal. And really, if it's going to benefit them and maybe even in those moments. And so taking that into consideration too, like, and again, this is not about good versus bad. This is just recognizing how our nervous system responds around things that we want to do and things that we don't want to do. And what's happening underneath that. For some people, habits or routines can feel like authority, and they butt heads with that. They're like, you know what? I'm going to keep my autonomy. You don't get to tell me what the fuck to do. I'm going to do the opposite. Right? And all of these things, y'all, go back to our childhood and how we were programmed and how our caregivers or parents operated, how we received love, how all of that. So do you guys have any questions about that? You know, and then sometimes when we're trying to create a new habit, a lot of people have a tough time because they are not confident that they're going to be able to do it before they even start, right? And so this is why you guys will hear me talk about baby steps, and this is why I mentioned earlier that sometimes we do need to stay with it a little bit longer, even if it is uncomfortable, to see if it actually works, to see to give it a chance. This is something that hits home for me because I was always looking for new systems, new ways to do things. And for my nervous system, Z8, welcome in. What I'm finding that brings me more peace and productivity is actually much more simple and repeatable and easy to recreate. Now that in my body feels boring and not enough, and that is because my nervous system is used to proving my worth, right? Because my programming is that production equals love and worth, your value. And for most people, in one form or another, that is how we were raised, how you guys were raised. Is that value, production equals love, right? You got good grades, then you were loved. If you cleaned your room, if you did all the things that your parents wanted you to do and all the things they wanted you to be, then they were happy and showed you love and you got to do things. And if you didn't, Alyssa, hello, lovely. And if you didn't, then maybe you were ignored, you were grounded, you were hurt, all of these things, right? So of course it makes sense that your nervous system would say, we have to produce in order to do XYZ. Or it flops and it says, I'm not going to do anything because I don't have to. I understand that. Oh, yeah. And I would say that that's probably because the pendulum, right? The pendulum shifts. And so if it was one way, then your body is experiencing it the other way. And a lot of that is about autonomy, is keeping autonomy, right? So that nobody has control over you. Nobody, your value is yours and nobody gets to dictate that anymore. And I'm speaking from that type of nervous system. That's really common for people who maybe that didn't have as much autonomy. They flop to the other side and secure and protect their autonomy at all costs. Katie, welcome in. Do we have any other questions? Right. And for the, or ask me to do it for you. I don't know if this resonates with anybody, but I was doing some research and for that, like for some nervous systems, they're like, if I had to do it on my own, you can figure it out too. Like, nobody was there for me, so you got to do it for you. I'm listening from, oh, so you are in your own space with yourself. And how does that feel for you? I'm learning to help. I used to think I'm not doing for you what you can do for yourself. Yeah. And it's this, and this is why none of this is black or white, right? Because there are times that we want to lean in and show up for people, and there's times to lean out and let people do things on their own, right? So it's not this black or white. It's pausing, getting curious. Is this a space or is this a situation where I want to lean in, or is this a space where I'm gonna lean out, right? Because it's not black or white. And this is the important part, is about practicing that pause. Jeremiah, welcome in. About practicing the pause and not abandoning yourself and asking taking the time to know that we have a choice. And for so many, our nervous systems are still on autopilot. It hasn't been able to slow down, or you haven't had somebody in your life to help you slow down in these moments so that you can begin to see where you have choices. You have choices everywhere, but our bodies are so quick to react because it's just been on autopilot that this is what I help people do, is to slow down in these moments so that you can begin to practice the pause, to get curious about things. But like we were talking about with the habits, is that we can know what we want to do. We can know what we don't want to do. But when something comes up, it's just an automatic reaction. And then we're like, shit, we chose that again. Or shit, we didn't choose that again. Right? And so we're recognizing after. And that's okay. That's going to happen. I have read that book. It is a good book. Probably subconscious, some of what I'm saying has come from there. I've read that a really long time ago. But having somebody walk alongside you that can help you point out, hey, pause. Like, let's just slow down here. For me, that was life-changing, which is why I'm so passionate about it. Oh, really? That's interesting. What's your job, Katie, if you don't mind me asking? But if you want help with that, if you want somebody to walk alongside you and help you slow down and help you see what is underneath, pull back those layers of what is really underneath that, that's interesting. I'm gonna have to reread that book. I'm gonna write it down. Then send me a message. Send me a message here on TikTok or schedule a free 30-minute connection call. It's you and I on Zoom, and we'll chat about whatever you're going through, you want help with. I can see if I can help you work through something in 30 minutes. Okay? We can get a lot done in 30 minutes. Most people who leave the connection call have an aha moment. Because our brains tell us the surface, and what I help you do is get underneath the surface, slow down to go underneath the surface. What's underneath that, right? Like, habits is such a huge topic and something almost everybody struggles with in some form or another, whether it's a habit you want to do, a habit you want to stop doing, or around like you have to have a habit, and if not, then your life is over in that moment. It's all something underneath that. Does anybody have any questions before we end? Also, all my beautiful badass ladies, we have Sacred Middle, a all women's group coaching right after this. You can hop up into the link up there and grab your seat. If you have questions, again, just send me a DM here on TikTok, and I would love to help you. Next week, we are talking about politics, and not the way y'all are thinking, okay? So we're talking about what happens to our body. We are not going to have a debate about blue, red, left, right, yes, no. That's what we're not going to do. But we're going to talk about what happens to us and why. Okay? That's what we're going to talk about next week. How do ADHD patterns affect your habits, and what helps you stay consistent when focus changes? Just curious. I love this question. Okay, so really fast, I'll try to answer what has worked for me, what I've learned from my ADHD coach. And so one is that you're not broken. Your brain just thinks differently. Okay? And for a lot of times, in a lot of situations, we want short-term gratification, that dopamine hit. And we are told, society says that short-term gratification is wrong and is bad, that we should only have long-term gratification. Again, it's not black or white. Both are beneficial, and we can use both to our benefit. Okay, so for me, I know that in some areas, my body really loves short-term gratification. Some areas, I can do long-term gratification. Okay? But for, say, like in my business and production and coaching, like the structure, the back end, I need short-term gratification. So I make small goals and I celebrate them so that my body gets that little dopamine hit, right? This is why you'll hear me high five. This is why I'll say, Amber, great fucking job. You did that. I say that to myself, okay? Why? Because it gives my body that little dopamine hit, and we're like, okay, we can do the next thing, right? So I'm understanding what works for me and my body, And I'm using that to my benefit. When I tried to fit myself into these systems, it didn't work. And this is why you heard me talk both today about figuring out what the fuck works for you, but also not abandoning it before you can figure out if it works for you. Okay? So, I love timers. Timers work for me. They're short-term gratification. I can do anything for 5 minutes. If I say I'm going to work out for 30 minutes at all, or like on a routine daily, that's not going to happen. It's just not. Do I know that it would be beneficial for me? Yes. Is it easy? Is it repeatable? And is it fun for me? No. For me, those 3 things are so important. And for most ADHDers, it is fun, repeatable, and easy. Okay, so if I make it to where it's a little bit fun, where I'm like, feel silly and awkward, that's a little bit fun. I can do that, right? I'm getting a little dopamine hit when I'm like, yeah, great job, Amber, way to go. Timers, making the goals much smaller. And this is one of the reasons I'm so passionate about baby steps and about timers, is because they're achievable. I can achieve that, right? I can do something for 5 minutes. I know that I can, right? I could talk about this for hours, but that in the gist of it is figuring out how you learn how your body operates and what works for you. And that took me trying a lot of different things to see what worked for me. And again, figuring out first what didn't work for me, right? So don't give up hope. Yes. Okay. Thank you. I appreciate you guys. So next week we are talking about how our body responds when we talk about politics. And I'm looking forward to this conversation. Look for the videos coming out. If you want to see this whole conversation, go check out my YouTube and you can watch the replay. Probably it'll be up by Wednesday. And all the replays from every week are there. So go check those out. And again, I just want to reiterate, we're not talking about left or right. We're not talking about good or bad. We're not talking about anything other than what happens to us in conversations. So I just want to make that super clear. We're not like I'm for this person, I'm against this person. That will not be the conversation. It will be what happens to us and why. I'm gonna hold solid boundaries on that one. Thank you guys. I appreciate you. Remember, fuck perfect. If you want to work with me one-on-one, send me a message, DM me, or just go schedule your free 30-minute connection call and we can hop on a Zoom and get you started. All right. If you are a woman looking for a small group coaching, The Secret Middle. We meet on Zoom right after this every Monday. So that's where we are going right now. Thank you for being here. I appreciate you. And I will see you next week, y'all. Okay. Bye.